just do it with Miami Dolphins. The pressure, he's in trouble. Loses the football. Touchdown! Miami! You have got to be kidding me. Jalen Waddle. It's a Dolphin touchdown. Throwing deep upfield on the near side. Man open. Touchdown! Looking deep. He's got a man. Touchdown! The run from Tua Tagovailoa. Touchdown! He's going deep. He's got it over the touchdown again. Touchdown! David, tell me what you want to do. Tagovailoa trying to make it for it. Fires to the end zone. Touchdown! Beautiful day to be a Dolphin fan. Let's go!
All right, huddle up, huddle up. We're gonna crank these engines up on one. All right? Wait, set. Drivers, start your engines.
This is the Finish Line.
I coached some great offensive linemen in the past. Larry Little, Dwight Stevenson, Jim Langer, all Hall of Famers, and Richmond Webb belongs to that same group.
Here are your hosts, legendary Miami Dolphins left tackle Richmond Webb, Reason, and Mr. Ballgame.
What is good, Fin Nation? What's good? It's your boy Reason, and we are back here for another one as we meet y'all at the Finish Line. Once again, I'm joined by my co-host, the legendary Richmond Webb, and Mr. Ballgame, and we welcome y'all in. We got a little bit to talk about tonight. I haven't had the pleasure of talking to these two gentlemen since the whole Tyreek thing has opened up, so that's going to be the first thing we start off with. But until then, until we dive into that, gentlemen, in general, how are y'all doing? How are y'all feeling? It's been 2 weeks since we've been back and seen everyone here. So how are y'all doing? Already 270 of y'all in the room. Please smash that like button, subscribe if you're new. How you feeling, Richmond?
Other than being hot here in Texas, I feel pretty good. We're going through a pretty good heat wave here. We've been in the triple digits and stuff, but feel pretty good. Always glad to be back on the show with you and Mr. Ballgame. Had a council last week, had a little family funeral to attend last week. So I kind of let you guys know at the last minute, but I appreciate y'all kind of working around that for me a bit. Other than that, I'm good. Happy to be back on the show with you guys, and just I'm ready to go. How you doing, Mr. Ballgame? Oh, you muted.
I'm good, man. We had the similar situations, right? Lost a cousin as well, unfortunately, last week. But it's always a blessing to be here with you guys, being able to share our opinions and do the thing we do collectively. There's a lot going on in the world around us, man. I just think, this is a balance point for me right now. With so much stuff, but it's always good, man. I just want these players to focus in, man, and don't squander an opportunity to do something great. So, we like I said, we're going to talk about it. So we'll get into that piece. So.
Say it, Ballgame.
Why are you smiling, Reason?
Because just say it, bro. The world's going to hell in a handbasket. It's okay. You can just I was smiling because every time someone says that, I think about that South Park scene where it says "Let 'em," or was it? It was South Park or Simpsons where it's like, let them all burn in
Let 'em
hell.
all burn in
And
hell.
it's like, it feels like that's where this is headed right now, bro. And it's like, just say it, dude. We're going there, all right? All right? Like, we're you know, it's the world, we're at hell in a handbasket stage. Yo, if you actually look at it, I swear to God, and I will get into Dolphin stuff here. There's a time clock that's been around since what, the 60s or 70s, minutes to midnight. Have you seen that? That doomsday clock? Apparently we're 100 seconds to midnight. That's what they're saying, and that's like the closest we've ever been. And we're 100 seconds to midnight, and like before that, the closest we've ever been like 2 minutes. But like we're getting closer, you know what I'm saying? It's coming. Oh man, say your prayers, take your vitamins, and prepare for the rapture, people. All right, but before that, hopefully the Dolphins give us a Super Bowl because it would be that, you know, right? You know, that 2-week period right before you hit the Super Bowl, that's when the world would end. That's our luck. You know, let's talk about this because we haven't really got your guys' thoughts on this. No one's had a chance to really, I haven't had a chance to pick your brains on this. The Tyreek Hill thing. Now, you know, when it all broke, I came out and I reported what I heard, and it lined up almost exactly with what Andy Slater heard because I got someone that docks down there. They spoke to the dock master. They live a couple minutes away. They said what they heard. You know, when that whole tarpon fishing story was coming out, I didn't hear that. I heard basically what happened was, you know, part of his crew, and now we found out it was women, boarded a boat that they weren't supposed to board. You know, argument broke out between the employees. Now, I was told, and I'll say this every time, I was told there were some racial undertones to it. That's why it got to the level it got to. That's why, you know, you're hearing reports of Tyreek smacking him, but then having to be restrained. That's why I heard it. Like, it got like that, you know, why he said, hey, you know, I'm number 10 for the Dolphins. I can buy you and this yacht. You know what I mean? I don't got to say any more to go where, you know, you guys were on. No, I'm going on that. So that's why I heard like he flipped out. And we know Tyreek just ain't going to, you know what I mean? So that's what I heard. Now, Andy Slater has reported that something was said that set him off. Since all that's come out, we've learned that the guy's 57. We've had people in the community trying to paint, oh my God, he hit a 57-year-old, and I've tried to be the one, hey, you're not even a senior citizen until you're 65. And I'm sure, you know, you gentlemen, like I know a couple 57-year-olds that could give some people in this community the work. So let's not sit here and act like you're frail and fragile and it's over when you're 57. Okay. And we don't even know if this guy's 5'10", 200, or he's 6'5", 300. We don't know. We don't know his name. We don't know what this guy is. You got people jumping to the conclusions, boys, trying to, you know, a lot of people who were saying Dolphin fans were painting Watson guilty when it's innocent before proven guilty. They're doing it to their own player now. They're painting Tyreek guilty, maybe because it causes clicks, maybe because it ramps it up. I don't know. But some updates that came out today, because there have been a few more developments, you know what I mean, was they did review everything. And, you know, apparently, you know, the employee said that he heard Hill telling an associate to give him $200 after the incident, but, you know, that declined. Apparently the video footage, you know, kind of lines up with, there was a disagreement, smack, blah, 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 blah. You know, an exact quote was, you know, the newspaper, you know, from the Sun Sentinel, the Sun Sentinel obtained additional information through public records requests, and new details include Hill allegedly offering the 57-year-old man he's accused of hitting in the back of the head $200 in the surveillance video of the incident, matching the accounts of the victim and the fishing boat captain involved. Anyways, your guys' thoughts on this? We know the portion of the police, that investigation is pretty much done. That's why it's been in the review of the state's attorney's office. It's been such a positive offseason, so much positivity heading into this season. You know, on the flip side, do you guys, you know, if you guys wanted to throw this in, do you think even if something does happen, we probably wouldn't even see it till this year? Your guys' thoughts on the whole Tyreek thing before we start getting into the meat and bones of all the new stuff we got to talk about tonight on the show, because I know between Dalvin Cook and Tyreek Hill, people are getting tired of hearing the same stuff over and over again. But your guys' thoughts. Richmond, we'll start with you, and then Ballgame. We'll dive right into you after Richmond's done.
Yeah, I think it was last Thursday. I think I snuck in the chat room while you and Neil was talking about this. I guess this past Thursday, I was kind of ear hustling. I didn't really announce myself, but I heard you, Neil, discussing it, and it was something about maybe some racial slurs or something. But I do remember they're getting on the wrong boat and things escalated. I don't know what'll be done, and I don't know, like you said, like new stuff has come out, and Tyreek offered the guy a couple $100, and maybe he was just sincere, or maybe he was trying to just piss the guy off even more by just offering him a couple $100. Because if you can buy the yacht and all that, and you're in the wrong, you probably would have offered more than that. I don't know. So I just kind of been letting it play out. I did hear about it, but I didn't pay that much attention to it. But he possibly could get, I'm interested in seeing what the league will do, because I'm sure Commissioner Goodell and stuff, the NFL is definitely interviewing that. When you're a high profile player like a Tyreek, this and that. And like you said, I agree. I think some people are playing what the devil advocate is, or to their own benefit, to say, hey, let me switch roles, because people care about clicks, likes, and whatever draws attention to them. It's not that they really – some people don't care one way or another, but they'll put stuff out there just to get people to pay attention to them. But I do know the only thing I will say is, in a situation like that, I understand, somebody hit you with a racial slur, or somebody in your group this and that, but you got to try to remain and keep your composure, because if not, it's going to be of this magnitude or more, especially when you're that type of player, and you just don't need the negative press the way he's.
Let me throw this at you, Richmond. Let's say, because I've even thrown this out, let's say I'm wrong, and the person that told me all this information that lines up with Andy Slater. Yeah. Because me and him were basically, it's just we had little details different, but it was the exact same story. And, let's say there were women. Let's say they even said something derogatory to the women. And one of those women is, or his wife, his sister, et cetera, et cetera. Like, it doesn't even have to be racist. Like, I've told people, like, we can all sit here. I know all of us, we all have daughters.
Yep.
Right? Okay. Mm-hmm. I know me and Ballgame are in interracial marriages. I'm sorry, bro. If you go that place with my wife or my daughters, I'm sorry. And I agree with you. You have to do your best to maintain. But again, I'm not justifying. Right. But if a line was crossed that we can all agree upon, I don't agree with it, but I understand it. You know what I mean? It's the same thing I said with Watson, right? Like with the whole Watson thing, what did I say? I said there's 27 women. You can't call them liars, but at the same time, you can't sit here and say Watson is guilty yet. It has to play out, right? You got to find that fine line. And I think people are just so quick to jump to conclusions, boys. Like, have you seen, like, Richmond, have you seen how people are like, I've seen people calling him names in our own fan base on Twitter, Richmond.
Well, the thing is, with most fan base, and it doesn't matter, especially when you don't have to be an athlete, you can be an entertainer or whatever. I think what people forget is they never try to insert themselves in that exact situation. And I think it's a show on ABC, like, what would you do? And this guy, he'll go to a restaurant and he'll do something. I think there's something, Keonis is his name. Yeah. It comes on ABC bit. Until you put in that position, or you try to really sit back and analyze, rather than just, people try to live in glass houses and say, well, I wouldn't have did this and I wouldn't have did that. But like you say, you got daughters, I got daughters. And like you said, it's hot here in Texas. So if it's hot and, I ain't feeling it, bro, and you come across me the wrong way, most of the time I'm pretty even keeled. But, like they said with, what's the guy that was playing against LeBron from Memphis, and they say you poke the bear. Sometimes you got to deal with the repercussions. So I'm not saying it's right, but I can understand. And sometimes it's certain days or certain times.
Ballgame looks like it's one of those days for Ballgame right now.
Yeah, you just don't mess with him, and drop that Home Depot beat before he answers questions.
I can't wait to hear his response. This is one of those days.
It's just Ballgame is gonna go straight. I'm kind of curving and going through, taking the little scenic route. And Ballgame gonna just get. It's almost like having a top fuel dragster car, and he's going straight down the track. He ain't weaving or nothing. But like I said, I understand. But all I can say is you try to avoid stuff like that. But people need to stop living in glass houses, and don't just jump to conclusions. Say, "Oh, I wouldn't have did this. I wouldn't have did that," because until you get put in that position, sometimes, hopefully, you make the right decision, but at times you could do the wrong one. So that's the way I look at it.
Well, let's. Okay, so I know what you expected me to say to some degree, but at the same time, I'm gonna look at it. I look at it from a different perspective because at 51, for me at this point now, I run hot anyway, right? I don't tolerate any level of disrespect. I walk around with the understanding of knowing that if it's two men interacting, there's already the presence of a low level violence potential there. It's already there, right? Just off the bat that, you know what I'm saying, we both testosterone feel, and if the situation escalates, something's gonna have to be done. And I'm not gonna walk away. I'm not gonna turn and walk away knowing that, you know what I'm saying, you could hit me in the back of my head, or you know what I mean? But as a pro athlete in my mind, I also say, or someone of higher stature, right? I have to always revert back to what my grandma used to tell me, and it says it's not about what someone calls you; it's about what you answer to, right? And that's always the message that I try to, relay now to the younger generation too, because everybody's so high strung and worried about the words. But the words they sting. But if they don't put their hands on you, then, you know what I'm saying, you still good. You can elevate. You still got your money in your pocket. You're still not painted to be something that you're not. But I get it, right? And I don't have all the details of whatever it was that happened with Tyreek. But in this instance, man, my thought process goes to, you got to be smarter, right? This guy might not even be no darn football fan. He don't give a crap about that. At the end of the day, you got a goal. You got a mission. You got guys depending on you. You got an organization that's built their entire hopes and dreams around you being available, and you got to be smarter. You got to take steps to put yourself in positions where you can't be triggered by every goofball Jamal. You feel what I'm saying? And those are just things that I think outside the box about, because like I legitimately had to reconstruct my entire thought process coming out of the military to know that, like, civilians in the real world don't walk around amped up looking at things the way I look at it. You feel me? I always had to be on the ready to get busy and to potentially lay someone down if I needed to. That's not how it works in the streets. Not here, not, you know what I'm saying, not in a normal everyday setting. But I also realized for myself too that now that I become someone that people look at and recognize in my city, you know what I'm saying, for certain things, I can't go around acting a certain type of way. Even if I want to, I have to be smarter about how I move so that, one, it doesn't bring shame upon my people. Two, I'm not putting myself in a position that I can't get myself out of it. I got to rely on somebody else to come and get me out of it. And now I owe that person something that really, if I had taken the time to think about it, I wouldn't even be in the first place, because I can easily just say, you know what? Not right here. I care. Let him have it today. We'll catch him later. You feel me? Because I get down like that. Like, you want to show out now? I'll see you later. You know what I mean? And I'm not going to forget it. I'm just going to shelve it. You know what I'm saying? Let the situation be what it is, and then I'll catch you on the flip side, and then we're going to see if we really want to talk the same talk. Because then at that point, then I've given myself an opportunity too. And if I can't let it go, then something's got to definitely be done. But to hit the man on the back of his neck and then offer him the $200, that's kind of like saying, "Oh man, get over yourself. I could buy you in this boat, bro. Here go $200. Shut up and go on about your business." I mean, it's kind of like a backhand. It's like a French limp wrist backhand. You feel me? Like, no, going on, you peasant. You feel me? Whatever the case may be. So dude feeling a certain type of way about it. You feel me? And he's still a man at the end of the day. Know whether if he's a beta, if he's an alpha, whatever the case may be. You know what I mean? There's just a way to go about doing things, and I don't think Tyreek handled it the best. But I ain't gonna judge him, and I don't like the fact that people out here on Twitter who weren't in that situation trying to, you know what I'm saying, trying to make you know what I'm saying, trying to tear the man down, because that just makes no sense to me at all. But you already know how I feel about the fools out there on Twitter, so I'm not going to get into that. Yeah, it's not a good look. That's all. It's really not a good look. And he's a leader. He's a veteran. And a guy that everybody's depending on, and
just wish it was something we didn't have to
real
deal
bad,
with.
Real bad.
Right?
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. All right, let's get into Dalvin Cook, because some news came out today, and I know Dolphin fans' hearts stopped all across the world. It started with this tweet. Responding to a video from Pat McAfee where they were talking about the Dolphins and the Jets in this video. And he said, I declined to visit, so you know my guy. And so people automatically, it's people were like, oh my God, the Dolphins. Who's he talking about? And, what happened was then Barry Jackson, he tweeted this out. The visit that Dalvin Cook suggested he declined was not the Dolphins per source. Both sides have interest. Whether they can agree on numbers remains to be seen. I'm going to have a pretty good 3 takes update for the Patreon members tomorrow night. I pretty much, I was told who the mystery team was, and I know how much. I now have a firm grasp of how much we exactly offered him. So I'm going to probably be dropping that on my 3 takes video on Patreon, and then I'll probably do it for channel members in the community tab. I'll have a written format of that. Man, I'm going to be honest with y'all. Over the last 3 hours, I have gotten so much information on the situation. I've gotten stuff that I've been told you can't even go public with. Like, even like don't put it out. Like, we're heading in a good direction. Let me put that out there right now. I know I can say that. I was told we're heading in a good direction, and
that's enough.
I'm hearing a lot of stuff right now. So I'm going to put some of that stuff out on 3 takes tomorrow night, and some of the stuff I just can't talk about yet. Maybe after everything goes down, I can talk about it, but we are heading in a good direction. And, the team that I'm hearing, you're all being going to surprise, but Dalvin Cook, what are you guys' thoughts on this right now? Because, I mean, I've been talking about this for, quite some time on this channel. You guys have been around for it. And, we had yesterday, a couple of days ago, confirmed the offer, which we already knew because I came out and I said it was a low ball offer, but I didn't know the number. Now I got the number today, and I can confirm it was a low ball number. And I even got, details on the incentives and such. So we'll get into all that on the 3 takes episode. But what are your guys' whole takes on this thing? Because, boys, we talked about the other teams that are involved in this. And here's the thing. Clearly, no one's blowing him away. I came out and said it's going to have to be more than $5 million. Media came out a couple days later. It's going to have to be more than $5 million. And clearly, no one's separating themselves from the Dolphins. Everyone knows he wants to be in Miami. Like, that's his first choice. So we don't want to say that's the absolute end all be all because the bags talk at the end of the day. But, that's his first choice. And no one's providing enough of a financial gap from what we offered that he's jumping at that. And then, boys, I don't know if you heard it, but Josh Jacobs said he might hold out until into the season, and you've only got till July 17th to sign that franchise tag, and teams can start rescinding it. Whereas Saquon Barkley, the Giants have put that $14 million a year offer back on the table. So, what are you guys' thoughts on this Dalvin Cook situation? Because that it's starting to feel, and I asked the question yesterday, I want to ask you guys, does it feel like it's becoming a bidding war between the Jets and the Dolphins? Whoever's going to make are the Jets going to go $2 or $3 million above what the Dolphins are asking? And then, are the Dolphins going to match it or come in between that, in around that vicinity to lock him in? New England doesn't make sense. Denver, they only got it $4 or $5 million. How much sense do they make? I mean, they look good after what they looked like last year. We all of a sudden think Sean Payton's going to turn that into the number 1 team in the AFC. Let's stop. What are your guys' thoughts on this ball game? Let's start with you on this whole Dalvin Cook thing, and I'm going to start with you because if people don't know, there's almost 500 of you in the room. We are speaking right now to Ballgame, who's a massive SFU fan. He's seen Dalvin Cook since the early days. I want to get your thoughts on this, man, because I saw you look on your face. It seems like even you are getting to the point of it just seems like this is the inevitable, right?
Yeah. I think for me at this point now, there's always been this undertone of him wanting to come back to South Florida and be at home to finish out his career if possible. I think the biggest thing is that right now, like, we know there's interest there, so we don't have to necessarily chase Dalvin. We just have to continue the courting process. And because I know that he is an advocate for a lot of what happens with the running back, the league's running back position. He doesn't want to be in a situation where he's screwing anybody else as well. He obviously knows that he's a little longer in the tooth than some of the younger guys, but at the same time, him going and taking a deal and those guys not finishing their work, all those things are kind of tied to each other if you think about it, because Dalvin's about what's best for the entire group as a collective. And he doesn't have to necessarily rush into anything because, at least with us, he doesn't. Right? He's free to. I mean, I think it's great that he's willing to listen to other people and things of that nature, and give himself time to fully get healthy and all these things. But I do believe when it's all said and done, he'll join us, and I'm not at any point overly concerned about it. Right? I don't think it's a money issue because him coming home is going to guarantee him more money in his pocket anyway. And the fact that Florida doesn't have any state tax, but it's about fit for him. And I think I know for a fact there's mutual interest. He wants to play with us. He wants to be here. And he know that we want him here. So those things matter quite a bit. Now, the Jets' motivations could be more along the lines of we want to make sure that we have somebody in place so that, in the event that Brees isn't who he can, comes back to be all these things. Exactly. You can be a contingency plan and all this other stuff for us and all this. That I don't care what anybody says. That doesn't make you, as a player, feel more like you want it for who you are and what you can add to what's already established. That's like saying, well, if he ain't ready, then we can at least know we got a veteran that can do it. Dalvin's wanted here. Dalvin fits exactly what we do in so many different ways, and that's been communicated to him. I think he's envisioned it. I know people that know him that says that he knows that he'd be amazing in this organization and that, across the board. Why wouldn't he? He grew up a Dolphin fan. Went to Florida State. All these different things play into the fact that he's home now, right? And rooting him up out of this state when he's here now so early too. I just don't see it. I think the Dolphins still the clear-cut front runner, and it'd be crazy for anyone else. I mean, people can spin whatever narrative they want, but at the end of the day, players do come home, and they do go home for their own personal reasons. And I just believe that he can seal the deal with this group that we've already got assembled. I mean, that gives him a chance to do something great. Why not? To be a part of that, and I believe that's on his mind too. So. And
you know what I think people don't think about
okay
Ballgame enough?
It out, bro.
Like, what I think people Ballgame don't think about enough? Like, I know he's in Minnesota. If I'm correct right now, I think he's in Minnesota right now, just like clearing things, like, cleaning up loose ends and stuff like that, right? But he's going to be back here. I know Tua and the boys have been out to perform the past couple of days, right? I know they're out there today working out. And, these guys are, sure, we'll get into the training camp dates, but we report veterans report in 3-4 weeks, right? What do you think they're going to be doing in those 3 or 4 weeks? They're not going to be sitting at home eating cheeseburgers, and so sooner or later Dalvin's going to exactly, and sooner or later Dalvin's going to show up, and it's going to be in the midst of all this, and all the Dolphin boys are going to be there, and he's going to be. What do you think? He's been kicking it with them all off season whenever he's well, he hasn't really worked with him because he's been hurt and stuff, but now that he's going to be getting back with Nick and stuff, he's going to be right in with these guys.
They're inviting him out.
And they've known him since last year, right?
He's over at Cat's house having dinner, hanging out.
Yeah, and he was there last year, right? Like, he was there last year, right? Like, and they've been working out. Like, people don't realize that these relationships have been cultivated and they matter. And like I said, it's all about us coming up to what he believes is fair, not necessarily resetting the market or 10 million, but just he wants to play and be compensated fairly, which at that position, hey, you can't knock him. Richmond, what are your thoughts on this whole thing and him declining, straight out saying he's declining free agency visits? What's your thoughts on this?
Well, I think he has enough interest from 2 or 3 teams that he's willing to consider, and if he's declining a certain team, he knows there's just somewhere he does not want to be. I think he knows, like Ballgame was saying, that I know I fit here, or I fit there, this and that, and he's just being a businessman about it now. Is this team put this on the table, this and that. So he's letting everybody. He knows he still has time. He's not got to sign by Friday and say, okay, I got to take this deal or it's over, this and that. I think he's just being a businessman, and I think at the end of the day, he does want to be here. And man, people got to quit. Every time somebody put a tweet out there, they just go crazy or just jump on it. It's like, man, y'all take that.
There's no rush, so he's trying to maximize his bag right now. Why wouldn't you?
Yeah. Take that hook out your mouth and just. Sometimes even if you get nervous,
it's not even July.
What? Yeah, and it's just, oh, what's he doing? What's he doing? And then somebody's always got to come out and calm down. This is what he means. And people almost seem like they're about to have a heart attack because they read something and they don't know. It's just, man, y'all got to breathe or something.
Well, we are at a level right now where between
for the course, man.
Things we've heard publicly, things we've heard privately, we'd all be disappointed if he doesn't come here because of what things we've heard, like, whether privately or publicly. Like, we've all been led to believe this is pretty much, I'm going to tell you this right now. I said this to EM, right? Because I was asked a couple nights ago, EM asked me, I was on the phone with him and Lewis. Hey, what do you think the percentage is we get him? I said, 60-40. I'm going to tell you this right now. I said, I'm having trouble deciding after what I hear, all the info I got today. I'm having trouble deciding whether I'm at 80 or 90% that he's coming.
But,
you know what I mean? Like,
but even Ballgame,
I'd be close to 85-90, bro.
Yeah,
I agree. I think we'll get him too. But just say we don't get him. Does that kill our season?
No.
And I think that's where sometimes they get so we gotta have this. It would be a huge, tremendous addition to add him with the weapons we got. I mean, it was just. I want him here to don't get me wrong, this and that, but I mean the way they're building this thing, even if we don't, for some reason, I understand this business.
Still win the division.
You can still do it. So I just man, sometimes people just gotta breathe, calm down, it's not, every now and then you might have to go get you one of them little funny cigarettes. I'm not condoning that, but if that help bring your blood pressure back down, where you can think straight, do what you got to do. Get your little sippy sip. Don't go too hard on nothing.
See, I'll say this. I'll try to put it this way, and I and I don't know because of the words I use whether people are going to take this, and think the first one means more than it. But follow me here. We talk about this and we think, look at this offense without Dalvin Cook, and we say we could be on the precipice of year 2 of being on the verge of something historic, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if we had Dalvin Cook, we could be on the precipice of having one of the most unstoppable offense this game has ever seen. Like that's what I'm talking about. Like, we could go from potentially historic to this could be the most unstoppable offense we've seen in decades. You know what I mean?
It could be. And I remember when Marshall Faulk was at the Rams and they called him the greatest show on turf.
Yeah.
I mean, Isaac Bruce, Torrey Holt, all those guys.
Orlando
you can match him up. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Our offense is built that same way. So, I mean, I get it, and I want Dalvin Cook here, this and that, and it's just something about even like he played for Minnesota, but I guarantee you when he came home to South Florida, he wanted to show out and look good against the Dolphins because
he's admitted that, and his agent has.
Yeah, and it was just like when I would go home and we play against the Cowboys. You want to shine in front of that team because that was your childhood.
8 times a season at home at the Rock, baby. Oh, and I'm telling you, this is where I'm at, boys. And we're gonna get into other stuff here.
Yeah,
and I've mentioned this, but I haven't had a chance to really talk to you guys about this. The 4.9 yards per carry I hear about Jeff Wilson and Mostert. Keep telling people, go look at what they did in December and January. Other than that Bills game where Mostert was really good in December, and they were both kind of decent in that Jets game, and they wouldn't get in. Mostert didn't dress up for the playoff game. Jeff Wilson had 10 carries for 26 yards. The rest of December and January, they were non-existent. Dalvin's the guy you can lean on.
You need a real dog.
People, exactly. Your ball game, Richmond. It's like I understand a lot of our younger fan base haven't seen playoffs.
Yeah.
You need a good running game if you're going to make a good run in the playoffs. That's one thing that's been consistent throughout and lasted the test of time of this game.
Facts. Yep, that's it. So
let's just say hypothetically. Let's just say hypothetically, he decides not to come, which I don't think is going to be the case.
Yeah.
You still need a dog.
You still need
a dog. Hell, if he don't come, I'm calling Leonard Fournette. Because I know without a shadow of a doubt, Leonard gonna give you Kareem Hunt. Them dogs, those are real dogs. Those are real NFL running back dogs. Those dudes.
Let me ask you this, because you're making a point right now. You are making a 110% valid point. So let me ask you this on the flip side, Ballgame. Does this Dalvin Cook thing show you that they believe they don't have that dog in house yet?
Yeah, otherwise it would have been dead a long time ago. But listen, let's be clear. There's no knock on those guys. There's no knock on those guys. But we all know there is a clear and definitive difference between Dalvin Cook and any other guys that we have in that room right now. And the only question mark that we don't know about is A-Chain, because that's college ball. But aside from that, the other three have been they've been average pros, good locker room guys, but they haven't been Cook. Dalvin Cook has been and made a name for himself in a space where it was all they had for a while until they got Jefferson, and they had Kirk Cousins up there, and then they had Thielen, and you know what I mean? But he's always been the workhorse of that offense. That's what you need. He was a dog at Florida State. He was a dog in high school. The boy has always been a proven commodity. So his name is going to be always regarded different than theirs. Love Wilson, love Mostert, but they've always been backup guys, not front runner first, you know what I'm saying, first slotted in the depth chart, that dog dudes. And that is what it is. But can they get the job done in this offense? Yes, but playoffs a little different. You need a guy that's been there. You need a guy. I like Leonard because Leonard demented. Leonard want to go give somebody some punishment. You know what I'm saying? And he knows
Lombardi Lenny.
But that's what you need.
Yeah,
that late in the season when everybody's beat down. Yeah, he looking to punish somebody. He want to take you with him to the end zone, carrying you to embarrass you. And as the game leads on later, more carries, more punishment. He just built different. You see what I'm saying? Yep. And you need that. I don't think we have that yet in this room. But H-Chain, we don't know. But the others, they just haven't shown that in their careers. So there's a difference. We need that difference.
And we've got him at every.
We want it because
we've got him at every position too, right? Like we've got two at quarterback.
We have that.
Karen Armstead, Connor Williams, Robert Hunt, Tyreek Waddle, Chosen.
Yep,
we've got him at every other position except right there. Because you're right. You're 110% right. We know what Mostert and Wilson are down to what they are in terms of injuries. Like Dalvin Cook could also keep those guys fresh into December and January as well. You're right. A-Chain's the only one we don't know because he hasn't played a pro snap. Like he's the only one you can say, okay, well, put him aside because we don't know. But everyone else we got figured out. You're 110% right, bro. You're 110% right. So let's get into this, gentlemen, and we'll start off with we'll go Richmond, and then we'll go Ballgame, and then I'll go over mine. But we went over 3 players, and I got a nice little fancy graphic made for us, gentlemen. 3 players each who are the most under-the-radar Dolphins heading into training camp. Richmond, let's start with you, and let's start at the top there with, reach for the sky.
Sky is my man. And, I looked at players that I felt that's actually going to be here when you say under the radar. So I'm not saying through training camp that I think Skylar was the guy last year that went through training camp, went through preseason, and really showed signs that, he can eventually turn into that. But I think once he started to play, I think it showed that he still has room to grow, this and that, and blah, blah, blah. So right now he's slotted as the third string quarterback, but I think the way he's been working and even from the reports and the information I've gotten from you, that he possibly could compete for the backup position, which is good because, they're not expecting that. So I chose him as one of the guys because I think he's going to continue to work. And, preseason is definitely different than regular season. And a lot of times you don't get to see everything. But by the time he got thrown in there, couple of games he got thrown in there, and the thing about being a backup or third string is a lot of times you don't get the reps to prepare going into the game because you're like, hey, this guy goes down, you're the next man up. You get the mental reps, but you don't get the physical reps. So I'm expecting a lot more from him, and I think he could be that diamond in the rough that's going to continue to get better and better. And we have that solid backup, so that's why I chose Skylar Thompson as one of the guys up under the radar.
And then Chosen, buddy. Yeah, come on,
Chosen.
Give me the Chosen. And by the way, over 505 in the room. Smash the like button right now.
505.
Tell me why you chose Chosen.
I chose Chosen because I was thinking, man, that was hard. I was like, man, Reason got me doing his homework. I'm sitting there like, I said, okay. But I chose Chosen because of the depth in the wide receiver room. And like, I know he's a veteran and he's been playing and he's done some good things, but he can actually benefit from playing with Waddle and Tua, and people won't pay attention. I think they might pay attention, but the focus is definitely going to be on Waddle, and I said Waddle and Tua, Tyreek and Waddle. As far as the wide receivers, those are the two guys, and it's not a secret because we saw the damage that they did last year. So somebody else is coming in there, and I thought at times we thought I'm trying to think of a tight end. We just not Hunter Long, the guy we just left here. I had my brain freezing up. But anyway, Gesicki. Yeah, when you got two weapons like that, a lot of times if your first and second option, if you're the third option, you can really eat at times. And I said, this guy being a veteran and stuff like that, I think he can come in. And then a lot of people were like, man, this was a great addition to, the wide receiver room. So that's why I chose Hernandez. I think he's going to be on the field, and I think he can fly up under the radar. And then my last, I was struggling, Nick Needham and Brandon Jones, and I love Nick Needham because you can put him in so many different positions. He's just that type of guy. And Brandon Jones, had the ACL, but Nick Needham had the Achilles, and a lot of times that's a hard injury to come back from. But I chose those two because you got X and Ramsey, and you got Holland. So guys like this can actually be really good players for us and still kind of fly up under the radar because that's a three-headed monster with Holland, Ramsey, and X. And I think these two guys are going to come back. Hopefully they're ready by training camp and stuff. They're ready to go. But I think these two guys here, I chose, it was supposed to be three, but I couldn't decide. So I put both names down there. And I think they're going to kind of fly. People know who they are, but I think they're going to kind of fly under the radar as far as teams not taking them to be able to contribute like they did, in the previous past. So that's why I chose those three.
Before we get to Ballgame's choices, I'm going to ask you this because I was actually shocked you didn't have him on your list. Ziggy Zag donates 5, and he says, am I wrong thinking Austin Jackson might be under the radar with good mentoring from Teron Armstead? Jackson never had that from past talent. What are your thoughts on that, Richmond?
I think it's just, you can only be mentored. This is what Jackson's 4th year. So I think last year he was playing well. Like I said, injuries, this and that. There's got to be a mindset that it's either do or die. This is a payday year for Austin Jackson. You know what I'm saying? So I look at it, I guess, different from the average fan. Look, I had 3 years here. First couple of years, I kind of struggled. Yeah, I started out good last year, but I was hurt, and so I really couldn't showcase what I could do. Now I got to look at it and say, hey, I got to shine this year, whether the Dolphins sign me or not. I got to show that it's time for me to go get that cheese. I want the bag. So my mindset is totally different. I don't look at under the radar now. I'm going to be the starting right tackle. I'm going to go out here and show these people what I can do. I'm going to show them why they made this me a first-round pick a few years ago. Yeah, it took me a minute, but I'm here now, and I'm ready to go get it. So that's got to
Looks like
be his
he's taking it
mindset.
seriously with his body and the transformation he's going through.
He,
Ball
he
game.
needs to
Yeah,
take
he
it serious.
does.
Yeah.
110% because the bag's on the line, right? Ball game. You got Elijah Higgins, Channing Tindall, and Deshaun Elliott. I like these selections here. So walk me through them, brother.
So I went with Elijah Higgins because first off, I see McDaniels as a visionary, bro. I think Higgins was brought in for one reason and two reasons. One, because of the fact that Stanford didn't have a wide receiver at all, and because he couldn't at that point in time put the weight on, he's going to turn this guy into our version of Darren Waller. But I think he'll be, if in the hands of McDaniels, I think he'll be a more streamlined, more spread you out, you know what I'm saying, mismatch all over the field for safeties and linebackers type of option in the intermediate areas of the game when you got Waddle, Hill, and Chosen out there to be able to go deep all the time. You still need somebody with some size and the ability to actually be able to spread you out and still commit to doing things in the run game. This kid proved that at Stanford. And, Stanford runs the crap out the ball. And he was definitely one of their best blockers, especially out on the edge. And then when they moved him all over the place, his versatility, for me, gives Mike a different element to that tight end position that we haven't had. Now, I think they wanted that with Tanner Connor, who's put on 10 pounds of muscle. But this kid has naturally been doing this all his life. He just couldn't meet the requirements that Stanford had for the weight. But, he's now in the NFL on a regimented program for gaining weight, and I think this is going to happen for him, and I don't think he's going to lose anything, and I think he's going to be a part of Mike's visionary change for what the Dolphins are going to feel from that position. And that's why I said, saying people, Mike's good at what he does, but this, I firmly believe this kid's going to be a game changer for us. It's just a matter of how fast he can pick up the playbook or how much they give him just for him to be able to contribute, and whatever he gives us, I think he's going to maximize that because he's a really great athlete when you really dive deep into him. So that's why I picked him for that position. I think Channing Tindall, right, under the tutelage of Long and the guys around him at this point, is going to have an opportunity really to showcase a lot of that athleticism that he had. For the first year, obviously, under the last regime, I think there was a lot that he had to go through to try to learn the system. With Fangio's system, there's a lot less thinking and a lot more being just reactive and being natural, which is what he thrived in doing in college. You see what I'm saying? So I think they're going to put him back in spaces where he can actually be the natural version of himself, which is going to heighten his ability to be on the field more. I mean, damn near probably the fastest linebacker that we have in a foot race. You know what I'm saying? I believe that wholeheartedly. And you know what I'm saying, his natural instincts to be able to feel and fit and in the run game, we've given the opportunity, which I believe they said they're going to do that. And I believe that they want him on the field for a lot of those different matchups that they're going to have to do outside of the traditional sets that I believe, Fangio is going to show. He fits that role. So it's just a matter of him keeping his head down and just learning and absorbing and just going out there and naturally being there to play. And I like the fact that he's, he's going to be given an opportunity to do that. I see the guy say AVG at middle linebacker. I don't have an issue with that as well. I love AVG. Anybody that know me know that's my dog. Yeah. But
I thought about him, but I was like, is he really under the radar? Because everyone's making a big deal about him moving to the interior. That's why I didn't put AVG. Anyways, continue. Bobby.
AVG? Yeah, no.
Yeah. Everyone's making a big deal, so it's not really under the radar.
Yeah, and then Elliott, we got to back. I was always a Brandon Jones fan, only because I defend Brandon because I know that the previous regime didn't ask Brandon to do a lot of the things that a lot of people said that he's incapable of doing. I don't subscribe to that as a coach because I can't necessarily say a kid can't play man if all I've ever asked him to do is do zone. And if I've only asked him to do man and never put him in a position to prove to me that he could do zone, and I've done the time to put the time in to actually coach him up on that, I can't say as a coach that he can't do it. And I think that with him and Deshaun Elliott being back there at that strong safety position, I picked Elliott because I felt like when I saw Richmond, I'm going the opposite side. I think Elliott fits a lot of what Fangio wants to do, but he's going to be pushed. But at the same time, Brandon's the guy that he's got to come in and really and truthfully compete with it for that job. And I think that's going to bring out another element of who he is as a competitor. And that just makes the defense, that's going to make the defense at that position that much better. I do believe that, I do believe in his skill set. I do believe in how smart he is and how tough he is. I think he can handle any and all things that are asked of him in terms of alignment and assignment within this defense. But, for the most part, nobody's talking a lot about him. But I think when it's all said and done, with the run fits coming up and being, a big focal point in the run game to help, seal up and have, for his run fits and stuff like that, I think he's going to be a guy that we're going to look back over the course of the year, probably by mid-season, be like, well, damn, okay, Brandon's good for these things, and he can do these things as well, but damn, Deshaun just been really out here just giving us a whole nother level. You know what I mean? And then that's a whole comfortability of being able to actually showcase a lot of the big nickel stuff that I always talked about, because then you could go to a package where you bring Brandon down in the box. You got Elliott up top with Holland, so you got three safeties on the field, two linebackers. A linebacker, two safeties, three safeties, two corners, and then you got your front four. You can match up pretty much with everything if your strong safety is flexible and being able to actually play in the deep half, deep quarter, the match zone concepts. And I've seen tape of him at Detroit being doing some of the things that Campbell didn't run a lot of it, but when they did run it after he got back from the little bit of a stint of losing the job and then getting it back, he excelled. And that to me tells me that, one, if he's pushed into a situation where he has some, he has to fight, he won't back away from the challenge and he'll push himself through. And that's what you need at this point, because they're all still young players. But Deshaun Elliott for me is a guy that I'm really going to be honing in and watching. Love Brandon Jones to death, but Elliott's a little bit bigger, right, and a little bit more of the prototypical strong safety that you would really covet and want inside of this defense that Fangio is going to field. So those are the three guys that I picked.
So I got Robert Hunt at number 1 because he's in a contract year. He's flashed. He's shown that he can play at a high level. I think this is going to be the year he puts it all together. He's clearly motivated. I mean, it took Connor Williams basically holding out for us to even sit down and start negotiating. And if you go into if you go with that information, that tells you we probably haven't even sat down and chopped up numbers with Robert Hunt, because I've heard zero privately in that regard. So that's where I'm led to believe. So I think Robert Hunt is going to be motivated. I think he's one of the few stable pieces on that offensive line. I mean, Connor Williams isn't locked in past this year. We don't know what Austin Jackson's going to be. We don't know what Eichenberg's going to be, and we don't know what Wynn's going to be at left guard. So there's a lot of question marks. I think he's going to be motivated. I think watch Robert Hunt be a talking point of how good he's playing in training camp, and I think we're going to see the best year of Robert Hunt's professional career this year, just based off the motivation of, clearly, if they're not going to get me done, where's the belief right now, right? So number 2 for me is Eric Ezukanma. I think, when you dive into what's been going on about how Wes Welker's talked about not only how they've been crispening his route running ability, but they've also been utilizing him and teaching him how to play in the slot, because last year he was basically stuck behind Tyreek, and Tyreek's not really going to miss very many snaps. So now you're looking at a guy who's being used and who, kind of like with what you mentioned about Elijah Higgins, can spread out defenses, and he can be part of spread offenses now. And, I think Eric Ezukanma, we've heard multiple people saying he looks like a grown man out there this offseason. He looks like an NFL player now this offseason. I think Eric Ezukanma could become that big-bodied, him and Chosen could be those two big-bodied red zone threats we might be looking for that we might not get out of Smythe and Eric Saubert. Eric Ezukanma as wide receiver 4 or 5 might be able to get a chance to step up, make some noise. And we saw how good of a preseason and an offseason he had last year, and they're saying this year he actually looks NFL ready. So, I mean, and then Trill Williams to me is probably the most under the radar Dolphin, I think, out of all three of these lists probably right now. And, I think I'm going to go deeper with this. Jalen Ramsey has talked about how there's multiple players in this defense that they are confident can play that star role. We've talked about on this channel how, Cam Smith could be one of those guys that plays that star role. And I think Trill Williams, you go back to his Syracuse days, played box, played single high. He's played the boundary now. I think this is another guy who can play that star role and who's going to develop. And I think Trill Williams is going to be one of the guys from the past regime that Fangio might end up falling in love with. And if you've been following Trill Williams on social media, I mean, this looks like a player that is determined right now to not only win a spot on this 53-man roster, but also be in contention for next man up in that secondary. So Trill Williams, I think I expect big things from him. This training camp, I really do. What happens if Easy E becomes a Higgins? I don't know what you mean by that. So reiterate what you mean by that. What if happens if like a T Higgins? We talking about like T Higgins? Well, if he becomes a T Higgins, then we are in a very good situation, my friend.
Good spot.
Please let that happen, right? So, anyways, moving on, guys. Now, in case people didn't see today, I just want to go over this quickly. We have official reporting dates for camp. In just case people haven't had a chance to see it, the NFL announced training camp report dates. Dolphins rookies will arrive at the Baptist Health Training Complex on July 18th, while the veterans, they will report on July 25th. Gentlemen, we are less than 30 days away. Oh my God, hold my breath and take it away. It's coming. You can feel it. Football's in the air, baby. It's coming sooner than later. And I got to ask you guys, we're going to get into this. I got to ask you guys this. Mike McDaniel, I noticed a post from a betting outlet, and I want to get your guys' thoughts on this. Is Mike McDaniel a dark horse to win Coach of the Year in 2023? And the reason why I ask is because Bovada Official, they just took a $500 stake on Mike McDaniel to be the Coach of the Year, and the payout on that $500 stake is $11,000 right now. It's Mike McDaniel. We talk about this team coming together, this roster to assemble, and sure, other than talking about running more, we don't really talk about and new tweaks he might have in the passing game. We don't really talk about what accolades Mike McDaniel could accomplish this year. I want to get your guys' thoughts on this. Is Coach of the Year on the table for you guys?
Yeah. I mean, sure. I think it can be. I mean, if you look at the way this team is constructed, if you look at both sides of the ball, if you look at the talent, if you look at the expectations, if you look at most analysts are saying the Dolphins is a top 5 team in the NFL this year. If they go out and meet or exceed expectations, which I think everybody will, and I think the only reason that you don't do something like that is injuries that could cause you to kind of fall short. I think he'll definitely be in the running for something like that. Is he a dark horse? I don't know, but those odds sound pretty good to me. 500,
yeah,
we win
dark horse odds,
11,000 bits. So that sometimes that's a little deal, or maybe to wager against this and that, and then a lot of times it's just all in, I guess, how they vote about it. A lot of times they say, well, yeah, he did have a great year, but he was expected to have a great year, whereas it could be a coach that didn't have much and was able to turn a team around and made them a playoff team. So I think he's definitely in the running. Me personally, I wouldn't consider him a dark horse, but those are some pretty good odds on that. That's what made my eyebrow raise. I was like, man, I said that sounds pretty good. So yeah, you got the old wheels, the old bearing spinning over here, but I wouldn't call him a dark horse. I think the way he's respected, from the players there, the type of energy he gives off and stuff. the way guys seem like they really gravitate to him, and just the way the feeling is in the facilities in the locker room. I really like him. I've never met him, but I really like him, and I don't consider him a dark horse, but you could possibly be right. But
no one's really talking about him, right? So,
yeah.
What are your thoughts, Ballgame?
Well, nah, bro. I think the fact that that Greer's gone out and basically brought in the pieces they brought in and put this team together and brought in the Fangio on the opposite side of the ball and all these different things. I think, if you're going to say to him that he needs to be, be a candidate, then Andy Reid should have been coach of the year too. Because they were loaded at one point and they won it, and he didn't get it. I just think that there's a higher, at this point now, when you've assembled a team like the one that we have, the expectation is that you're supposed to win. You know what I mean? And that's. And nobody really is going to pat you on the back for going out and doing the thing that you're supposed to do, right? That's the unfortunate part about it. Does he deserve to be in the talks about it? Probably so, because it takes a lot to be able to manage this high level team of this high level personalities and guys that have been around. You know what I'm saying? And the names that we have on this roster, but I don't see him as a dark horse. I see him as a guy that's going to be able to. Week in and week out, go out and get the best out of these top professionals in the sport, and that's enough for me. I don't give a shit. I think at the end of the day, if he had to choose between being coach of the year or holding up the Lombardi, he gonna pick the Lombardi any day, because those coach of the year thing, right? Leave that for somebody that's actually got a whole bunch of struggle. The only struggle that we should have is being able to manage ourselves to the point of being able to stay healthy. One. To go out and treat every game and every game of the season as if it's during playoff game, and just go out and put your foot on the throat of whoever we playing, and just crush the life out of them. That's it. Anything short of that, then I don't think we hit the mark, because this team has the capabilities of being able to do that week in and week out. So if you can get in on it, find those odds and then put some money on it and win some, then that's fine. But I don't necessarily, I don't give a crap about that. I think the bigger picture is the Dolphins being talked about like the Kansas City, being talked about and feared like Kansas City is, because when you talk about them, you talk about the master, the brilliance of Andy Reid and the field savvy of Pat Mahomes, and I believe Tua Tagovailoa, had DeVante, because if DeVante had caught that touchdown pass that he threw to him back when we played him last, we would have beat him then anyway. So we weren't too far off there. So it is what it is. So coach of the year, don't worry about that. I don't care about that, to be honest with you. So.
All right, final thoughts, gentlemen, and just to add to your final thoughts, in case you didn't know, DVP signed a 3-year contract worth up to $33 million with the New England Patriots today. So if that doesn't tell you that they swung and missed on DeAndre Hopkins, I don't know what will. Final thoughts before we get out of here, Richmond?
Congratulations on that contract. I think great show. I think the only thing I'll say is, tell our fan base, just be a little patient. Let Chris Greer and them do their job, this and that. I do think Dalvin will be here, but don't just bite on everything you see on Twitter or social media. Just let the process play. It's a process, and we want y'all to be here for the season so we can celebrate together. I don't want nobody to have no heart attack or nothing like that. Y'all just chill out and just let the process, and every now and then Reason gonna drop y'all a little nugget or something. So go ahead and join, like, subscribe, do his deal, and you'll get a little inside information. This ain't gonna be the last time, but I'll tell you every now and then. So if you ain't joined this deal, go ahead and join it, this and that, and you'll get nuggets, and then you can go drop that information, and then people be like, man, how do you know this? But you don't give up your source. You just say, hey, well, every now and then I'll let you know a little something, but just stick with me and I'll teach you a few things. It's how you treat the other people that's on the outside. You don't let them know your little inside hustle and stuff like that. But glad to be back on the show with you guys. And like you said, we're less than 30 days before we back into football. I think that's what I'm excited about. And I'm ready to get it. So that's all I got.
Final thoughts about you?
Yeah, man. We started doing this I started this. We started this. We all started coming online and talking to the fan base to be able to make smarter decisions and not bite on everything that you see, because at the end of the day, some things are just for clickbait and clickbait only, and it's just to draw your attention away from what's really happening. People got to be smarter about how you engage with material. If you want the best, go find Reason and make sure you just stay tapped in, because he's going to give you the real deal about what's going on. I don't think anybody else out there is more plugged than him at this point. And I don't have an issue saying that, because that's my dog, and I know that he does it day in and day out to make sure that we are, without a shadow of a doubt, the most knowledgeable about what's going on with our team fan base on the planet. You know what I'm saying? So y'all need to make sure that y'all tap into what he's got going on and leave the naysayers and all the other foolishness. Let them have at it, man, because, idle minds get themselves involved in the things that don't necessarily have any merit or have any ability to make you a better version of yourself or get you any closer to understanding this game that we all love. So if you're out there spinning your wheels, chasing this narrative and that narrative, then you really miss the nuggets that are offered for you right here in front of you. So stop fooling around with fool's gold and just stick with what you know, and then everything will be fine. We got to unite this fan base behind this team, because at the end of the day, they're the team you're falling in love with. They're the team that you said you're willing to support. So leave all the negative stuff at the door and just get on about being the best version of the fan that you can be. Right, whatever that means for you. You want to be a super fan, you want to be an average fan, you just want to be somebody that say you just like the Dolphins because of the colors. That's fine. But leave all the negativity somewhere else, because we don't need it. This team needs positive energy moving forward, and stop tearing down players. Because at the end of the day, players are people too, and they make mistakes. That's why I'm not going to vilify and victimize or make Tyreek out to be some bad guy. He just made a bad decision. He's a ultra high-level athlete that made a bad decision. You know what I'm saying? I'm sure there'll be some semblance of some type of consequence, maybe, hopefully not something that's going to damage us long-term. But at the end of the day, it's a learning lesson. Nobody is above being held responsible, and that's what it's all about nowadays. Responsibility and people making smart decisions and just doing things that without a shadow of a doubt are positive, and putting positive energy in the world and just being better versions of ourselves. So if that's not your motto, that's not what you're doing, that's not what you're living for each and every day, to be a better version of yourself, then you solely missing this human experience. And being a Dolphin fan, we can't ask for the best of these players if we're not willing to give them the best energy we got as fans. So
yeah. All right, gentlemen, I'm going to be back tomorrow night. Tomorrow afternoon, 4:30 p.m. It's going to be Fin Too Deep with myself and Neil Driscoll. We got a lot to talk about. I'm going to have a video of 3 takes coming out tomorrow afternoon for all of you guys on the Patreon, and I'm going to have a written version coming out for the community tab and all my channel members here. So you can either be a channel member or a Patreon member. You will get the information. It's going to be a lot of Dalvin Cook stuff, a lot of the stuff that I can tell you and come forward with, I'm going to go into tomorrow, and a lot of details that y'all are going to like. So be on the lookout for that if you're a Patreon or a channel member. And until next time, I appreciate both of you gentlemen. It's always a pleasure. Another banger of a show, and I hope you all enjoyed it. We had over 550 people at one point today, and for the end of June, that's awesome. So until next time, we'll see y'all on the next one. Fins up all day, every day. Thank y'all for tuning in, and shout out to all of you. Smash the like button, all of you that subscribed, and all of you that donated and commented. We appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you. Have a fantastic night, guys.